and welcome back to Redefine Parenting. I'm your host, Vinu Keller, and I want to welcome you to Spanglish World Network and Her Network on Zingo TV, channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download both Zingo TV app on the respective app stores and on iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. The app is free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire Sticks, and Roku Sticks, all smart TVs 216 and forward. Today, I am so excited to bring another guest who's not just a guest. He's been a mentor. He's been a good friend of mine. And we've been able to have so many deep conversations as he is a father of three. I'm a mother of six. And, our kids have been similar ages over the years. And we've just been able to have great conversation in the leadership of youth, being parents of youth. And just recently, him and I were on a conversation, and we were talking about how some kids are so entitled, and what happened to our generation where we learned how to be leaders. Our parents were working. We knew we had to work hard to get far in life. We were willing to put the effort out to get the rewards. And now it's like kids are so entitled. They just expect us parents to do everything for them. And now we're watching another generation come in and how we're starting to turn that too. So without further ado, let me just welcome my dear friend, Chuck Hogan. Thank you for coming to Redefine Parenting and sharing your words of wisdom that you have so many of.
You're so kind. Thank you, Vinu. It's wonderful to be here and to share time and energy with you. The kids, you love them, you raise them, and they're a blessing.
Yes.
And to your point, we bonded over so many different times, so many different spaces, education, learning, but most notably, kids.
Yeah.
And it's a very slippery slope. This is a topic of conversation that it actually creates fights in families. It actually creates discord between grandparents and parents of children, because they're like going, my kids would never do that. You kids weren't raised that way. And it's like going, okay.
You're right.
Yes. It's all yes. And it's not right or wrong. It's perspective.
Right.
So when we use that term entitlement, well, let me ask you this. I mean, you're the host. You have such a profound influence and background in child development and in family counseling and behavioral sciences. What does entitlement mean to you? Like when you think entitlement, what does that mean?
When I think of entitlement, I think that I believe that I deserve to get whatever I want in that moment, regardless of the circumstances, whether I work for it or not. I feel that I deserve to have it.
I would agree. That's a great definition. And I started going down this rabbit hole because I was like going, you know me well. My kids are raised with quite a bit of discipline. And I've actually been criticized as being like the dragon dad. They're like going, okay, you're the tough guy. You're the enforcer. And kids will go, do they go to Julie, your wife, to, like get okays and attaboys and ahas? I said, they get a ton of that from me. Mm-hmm. The difference is that I started realizing I was the problem. All behavior is learned.
Yes,
all behavior. I agree. Needs that are being met at the highest level. So you need to breathe. You need water. You need food. You need shelter. And then there's one other major component of the human, I'll say, requirement, the human condition, which is we all need love and connection, and we will do almost anything to feel that. Well, in our pursuit of wanting to be amazing parents, and I'll give you a brief example of this because I had this conversation with my son not that many weeks ago. My son's 22. He's off at college. He's a senior. He's doing his thing. Living. I know it's like freaky because I remember when.
I just can't believe that, right? Like, I'm so sorry. I just can't believe that. Like, I remember when he was like in middle school.
Yeah, I did. Trust me. I mean, I was like, he's not even shaving yet. It's like his voice hasn't even changed, and that's how most people remember Cole. Now he's 3 inches taller than I am, and definitely more buffed, had some more facial hair. I can't grow facial hair the way this kid grows facial hair. And so I was having this conversation. He goes, "What was it like when you were a kid growing up?" I said, "Wow, that's a really profound question. I go, it was easier.
Yeah.
And he goes, was it? He goes, really? He goes, we have all these conveniences. I said, no, you have all these distractions. You have
Oh,
all these, you have all these things that are occupying your mind 24/7, 365. And the one thing that I had of being a child of the 60s, so to speak, 60s and 70s were my, born in 66. Yeah, I'm old. It's cool. I've earned it. And I remember the Brady Bunch. I remember these times when TV was innocent and easy. It was Gilligan's Island.
yeah.
It was Brady Bunch. It was all these shows. I mean, I remember when it was really, really sketchy when Mork from Ork came on, Robin Williams, and you're like, going,
Yes.
ooh,
Yes.
this is weird. And now
And,
that's tame.
and everybody also had a perspective then that life was like Leave It to Beaver. That, mom
Absolutely.
was home to take care of these amazing kids who followed directions, went to school, ate a balanced meal with their meat, the 4 food groups.
Yep.
And then dad came home and mom kissed him on the cheek and they had a family dinner and they played family games. And the only word that they said was, good golly, did that happen today?
Gee Willikers. Yeah. I mean,
Right.
and I'm like, going, where did that conversation go? Where
Right.
did eating together go? Where did communing together go? And so entitlement actually started being propagated out of competition.
That's interesting. Can you be more specific to our listeners that are hearing this? What does
Sure.
that specifically mean?
Well, let's think about it for a moment. When we were kids, there was always competition, but competition was more playful. Competition was more one on one, in your face. It's like if you were playing over the line or tag or a dodgeball or playing any of, I'll say, the interscholastic sports that you played as a kid. Now, I excelled in gymnastics when I was young, so I was doing things outside of the norm, martial arts, things of that nature as well. And working out became a big part of my life because I'm a little guy. I'm not that big. I'm like maybe 5'8", maybe 5'8". But I started realizing that for me, I had this identity of self, which most of the time was I wasn't good enough, that I am from a mixed race family, that in the 1960s, that segregation was alive and well. And I didn't even realize why people were judging me, but for the color of my skin, or because my eyes were slanted, or because I wasn't Irish enough and I wasn't Japanese enough. And I was like, going, that's a very awkward feeling when you're already uncomfortable in your own body. And then now you feel like you're being judged. But in competition, I started realizing, oh, I'm going to raise the bar. I'm going to push harder, further, farther, faster. I will never let anyone question my integrity, the amount of effort I put out, my intelligence, my linguistic skills, how I'm going to show up if I was polite. It's like, I'm going to be a really good Irish Catholic kid who happens to be half Japanese. Yeah. I mean, it was like, wait, what? And it's like, and living in Maine at the time. And you're like, what? That's like, the only thing that was missing was a banjo because it was like Deliverance of the North. They
Right.
hadn't seen an Asian kid ever. Like, and don't let this fool you. I know I'm like Black Irish now, but boy, I looked Asian when I was little. And I share this with you because in that need for competition, I found myself that I had a striver driver mentality.
Yep.
And this actually carried with me all the way through my adulthood. Well, as a striver driver now, I wanted to make it better for my kids. My ideology, my cognitive mindset was love equates to making it easier.
Right.
And it's because there's how much competition out there. What rating are you in school? How do you get in the best kindergartens? Freaking preschool. Do you qualify? Are you the right pedigree? Who actually endorsed you to come into the country club? Are you making enough money? Are you wearing the right name brands? It's like, oh my gosh. And then this conversation with my son happened. And I go, you know what? Life was simpler. He goes, well, give me an example, Dad. I said, I had 3 pairs of shoes at any given point in time. He's like, wait, what? I go, I had 3 pairs of shoes. Legit story. I said, I had a pair of sneakers, which were for all sports, all play, all outdoor. I said, those were my school shoes, basically. I said, I had 1 pair of dress shoes. And then I had a pair of flip flops. Asians
Right.
call them slippers. We call them slippers. But it was flip flops. And I go, okay, I have 3 pairs of shoes. He goes, well, what would happen? What would you wear to wear? I said, well, the dress shoes were for church and any kind of outings. If I had to put on something more than just my Catholic school, white shirt and blue corduroys. Yeah, some of you are having flashbacks. I can feel it. And then I was wearing my Converse or my Nikes or whatever they were. I said, but I never had more than one pair of sneakers. They were the same sneakers I wore to play basketball. They were the same sneakers I wore to practice football. They were the same sneakers I used at recess every day.
Right.
They were the same sneakers. I had one pair. And I go,
So
son, how many pairs of sneakers do you have? He goes, I have like one for working out, one for cross country, one for track, one
too many
for.
choices.
I was
There's
like,
so many choices now.
and I go, where'd they come from? He goes, well, you and mom bought them. I said, right. Why? Because I said I needed them. And I said, did you really? Did you really? Because I thought I was being a good dad because my son said I needed these particular cleats for football. He already had a pair of cleats. There was nothing wrong with them. They still fit him, but they weren't the latest brand. They weren't the latest style. They weren't the latest technology.
So let me ask you a question. This is a great conversation now. So what made you and your wife, if you guys had the conversation, feel that knowing that he already had the cleats, knowing that he already had one pair of tennis shoes, what made you feel compelled as his parents to say, you know what, let's go ahead and get that for him? He says he needs
Scarcity.
Correct.
Scarcity. Growing up and not having a lot, growing up and having to do better, and knowing that in my mind's eye, going, I put out maximum effort. I rallied every resource I had to do the best I could with the resources I had available at that moment. I couldn't run any faster because I was getting blisters from these sneakers. But growing up the son of a military man, it's not like we had indispensable money that we could just go ahead and discretionarily spend on anything.
Right.
So that was spent on food and necessities. And mom was a stay-at-home mom, the June Cleaver scenario.
Right.
So when my kids were growing up, and Cole's our eldest, we were like, I had one rule, and this is what I told myself. This is how crazy it is. I said, I want one thing to be reality for my family. Anytime Julie and the kids need something, they can buy whatever brand they want. Money's spare no expense. We're just going to get it. I'll deal with it. I'll always find a way. And that's the way we've lived our lives.
So just to piggyback off this story, because it's very similar, and like what we're looking at is generational gaps now.
Yes.
Like you came from the generation, like you're on the cusp of the baby boomers and the Gen X, right? And I'm like 73. I'm spot on Gen X. This is like parents now. Moms are going back to work now, right? And kids are raising where I'm the latchkey kid. I had a key around my neck every day to unlock the door for me and my brother every day. Like we were latchkey kids. There was no babysitter. We were babysitting ourselves at 10, at 9, at 8. Parents felt safe. Like the neighbors are around, we're going to be fine. And that's how it was. And I always heard when I was growing up, when I said, Mom, can I join Girl Scouts? I can't afford it. Mom, can I take violin? I can't afford it. Mom, can I play soccer? I can't afford it. So my one rule when I became a mom, and my oldest is 28 and 24, Cameron and Connor, and I was a single mom for a long time. And that's like when you and I really started to have these talks, because I had 2 boys, I'm a single mom, and, am I doing this right for them? And you and I had many conversations about that. And the one thing that I said, my one rule was, I will never tell them I can't afford it. I will always find a way. And even when my ex-husband and I divorced, when we were together for 10 years, that's the one thing I told him. I said, I don't care, obviously you and I are not meant to be together, and it's not our kids' fault. So we have to continue this lifestyle that you and I as couple created for them. Yes. We can never tell them we can't afford it. And he agreed until there was no child support for a long time. And it was like left on me. And I still said, I will afford it. My kids played sports. When Air Jordans came out in the early 2000s or late 1990s or whatever, my kids had them. Forget the fact that we might not have hamburger for 2 weeks because I bought those for you, but I bought those for you because I was, you know what? My kids were never going to feel what I felt. And that, again, the scarcity mindset. So what happened in turn of that is I went, gosh, $84,000 in credit card debt. But my kids never heard I couldn't afford it.
That's it.
And then what happened now as an adult? They don't have the money mindset. They don't know how to save.
Yes.
They just, oh, I have this. Okay, who cares? I'm gonna buy this though. Like I'll figure it out. So in turn of like trying to give them something that
Mhm.
I felt was, sad for me, upsetting for me, and I didn't ever want them to feel that. In turn, I have crippled them even more.
It's such a counterintuitive ideology because the intent that was never the motive or intention. And in
Correct.
fact, it's in our scarcity and our enablement that we actually created entitlement.
Exactly.
And people go, okay, come on, Chuck, you're being over dramatic. And I go, well, actually, it's really simple. When we start to look at where we're living and our identity as a parent, I quickly realized because I asked my parents this when Cole was born. I said, they don't come with an instruction manual. Can y'all and you're amazing parents. And they go, well, we weren't perfect. You were our experiment. And I go, I know, I'm your eldest, and I get it. And I had said, so what's the one thing? And my dad put it so elegantly. He said, just love them.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay. Thank you, Confucius. What the frick does that mean? I'm like, what the hell do you mean? Just love them. And he goes, it's simple. When they fall, just love them.
Hmm.
Don't pick them up.
Yes.
When they hurt, love them. Hold them and make sure they know they're loved. When they make a mistake, don't berate them. Love them. Tell them, hey, this is going to be the first of many. And just pray. I go, oh, there's a part 2 now? And he goes, yeah, just pray that it's not life threatening.
Mm.
Because the truth is, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And we
Yes.
hear these cliches so often. And the biggest blessing, the biggest gift, the biggest aha, the biggest just absolute connection, insight, distinction, profound way of living is to let your kids have the lessons and the learnings.
Yes. That, so I just got chills when you said that because, as you know, God gave me a do-over. I am lucky enough that God says, you know what? We know that you feel so sad for the way that you did it the first time. We're going to give you a do-over, and we're not just going to give you one. We're going to give you two.
Yeah,
So I had my twins.
exactly.
I will say that my husband Brian and I have really helped them realize the mindset around money.
Sure.
That as kids, they want to spend, right? They get money, they want to spend it. And the first thing we say is, how much did you save of that money first?
Right.
We have taught them buckets, right? Like you're going to have a bucket for savings. You're going to have a bucket to contribute because that's one thing that we've also installed in our kids is contribution, as I know that you've done that as well with your kids.
Absolutely.
And it's, I'm going to be honest to our listeners, is watching Chuck and other of my friends that had these kids that were teaching them contribution taught me how to teach my kids contribution. And I did teach Cameron and Connor that,
Yeah.
as I was learning it. And yet I've been able to teach the twins since birth, right? Like contribution. And then you have the money left over. And whatever you want to spend that on,
Yep.
I won't question it. I won't judge it because you did the first two things first. And and it's a different thing, right? Because they are learning to appreciate what they have and they're learning to appreciate what they want
Hmm.
because it's not, well, I want it. Why isn't mom and dad buying it? It's like, wait, how much does that cost? And what is the value of it?
That is so I love that you went that direction. And yes, with both your eldest, boys as well, because the challenge becomes this. We're learning and growing all the time. I believe in this mindset that Simon Sinek often, and I give credit to source,
Yeah.
and this is something he talks about, the infinite mindset, and I love it. It's some of the players, there are no rules, but there's values and there's a moral compass. And the outcome of the game is to stay in the game as long as you can. I love this because what it does is it emotes a sense to what you were just bringing up, Vino, and that is when we start to understand what our value is, our true value, then we can go, in order to have this, because we taught our kids from a very early age this really simple saying, And I know it's going to sound maybe odd, but I promise you it'll fit in this. We said you can be doing your best, but never being your best.
Yep.
But if you're being your best, you will always do your best. And the reason why we started saying this was we're like, okay, what state are you in? Are you being your best? Or are you just working really busy and living in hopium and hoping everything's going to work out? Hoping that, you're going to get an A. I know you've been studying. Have you been deliberate about it? Have you really time blocked and allocated time? Because everything in life is discretionary. Regardless of how minuscule or how magnanimous it may be, you will spend something, time, energy, intention, focus, languaging, presence. You will use something. And yes, even money.
Mm-hmm.
Do you need it or do you just want it? Because this is the latest want. And with commercials and everything, I remember being a kid. Ooh, G.I. Joe. Ooh, Stretch Armstrong. Ooh, a new Schwinn bike. Ooh, Nerf guns. Ooh, I mean, it was like, ooh, 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 ooh. And God, Christmas came around. You're like going, it might have been 1,000-sheet roll of toilet paper. And on every single square, you wrote a want.
Yep.
Just, this thing would go on forever. And then I remember my dad asked me one time, he goes, well, do you need it? And that year we got new bikes. And the reason why is he goes, well, tell me all the reasons why you need it. Oh, well, I need the Red Ryder pellet gun, BB gun. I need the Daisy BB gun because just in case I got to protect you and mom. And he goes, well, Dad's pretty good with that. And I think we're really safe, son. He goes, well, the bikes. Well, we could ride to school. He goes, I like that. I go, oh, it's a good source of exercise. All the other kids have bikes and we can ride together. We can go to the movies and to the tennis courts. And he goes, that's outstanding. He goes, that sounds very compelling. That sounds worth it. That sounds worthwhile. And all these words going back to being, 5, 6 years old, pop back in my head again. I'm like going, dang it. Those were the lessons. But I'm going to show you something, and this is really interesting. In today's climate of even our education system, because back then, just because of the journey that the educators were on, they actually taught us how to be resourceful. So let me ask you a question, my dear friend. When you were preparing to do a report, how did you prepare for that report back when you were a kiddo?
So let's just say I know the Dewey Decimal System, and I went to the library, and
Yep.
I was hoping to be the first one there because there was only one set of encyclopedias. And if everybody was doing a report on a state that had the same letter that it started with, they were going to get the encyclopedia before I did. And they're going to use it for about 2 hours. And then in 2 hours, I got to be home. So now I missed my opportunity because you can't take encyclopedias home. So you had to photocopy it. And if you didn't have the 10 cents to photocopy, you had to spend hours handwriting all the information. And then you had to learn how to paraphrase it, because if you wrote exactly what was there and you didn't cite it right, then you failed the report anyway for plagiarizing.
Wow. That sounds like a whole lot of freaking work to even source getting the information. Because
Oh,
it
yeah.
was the same for me. I'd go to the library, I'd go search for the topic, I'd look in the Dewey Decimal System, I'd then go to the section, look for that book. I would pull all these books, manuscripts, editorials, magazines. I'd go and look at microfiche.
Microfiche, yep.
I would then Xerox copy this stuff and take home stacks of paper and then sort them so that I could actually find the data that I needed. There was no Google. There was no Bing. There was no Wikipedia. There was no, AI Jarvis system that you could go into to help you rewrite your paper. Today, if wealth was a reflection of resources, everyone would be a trillionaire because you could just Google it and then have everything that you need to be successful.
Right. Right. We've taken out, like with this entitlement, we've taken out the opportunity to do the work. Like it's just there for you. It's just there. We just
Yes.
drop it. And I want to go back to one thing that we were talking that I said was contribution, which I
Yes.
did. I've learned from you, like I said, some other, families and friends that have been in my life to teach me, like, how do you do it? You just do it. You go and volunteer. You take your kids with you, and, you and I've been a part of another organization where we were able to bring our kids in and teach them not by, hey, go do this, but like, hey, come do it with me, come volunteer with me. And so they got that opportunity. And I'm so grateful for that opportunity. And yet being able to bring that in our lives now, like I said, my redo, like when Samuel was a baby, we grew his hair out and it was time to cut it. And I researched all the places that we could donate it to and really what's behind the place that we donate to. So we chose to do children with cancer, and they take the baby hair and make wigs for babies, and we did that and we got a shirt. And my husband says, why is it so important for you to get a shirt for him? And I said, because one day he's going to look at his baby pictures and say, what happened to my hair? Yeah. And I'm going to show him that shirt and he's going to wear it with pride to say that we helped him make a choice.
Yes.
To donate his hair to a better cause, something beyond him.
It's the one thing I will say is the commonality now. And that's beautiful, Vinu, that it really is, because those memories are ingrained forever.
And he wears a shirt now. He's 10 and he fits in the shirt and he wears it with pride. And if people ask him, he can say, because I donated my hair when I was 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, the new generations of millennials, zennials, they are absolutely engaged and in adoration. And part of their psyche is just causes.
Yep.
They are so compelled by just causes. The days of I'm going to work for a company for 40 years and then have a pension and then just move on. I'm like going, no. And in fact, some people go, ooh, was that the beginning of entitlement? And I go, isn't it though? Because what it did is actually fed security. So some people, instead of becoming entrepreneurs and going out and building a business, they said, I can be an employee forever. That doesn't exist. That doesn't exist now.
No.
And so now the level of insecurity that has actually propagated is that I'm going to be secure by changing jobs every 2 to 3 years. I'm going to have 15 occupations by the time I'm ready towards what they call perceived retirement, which is never.
Right. I think the other key to this, though, and it's something that you've been, hinting towards, is comparison.
Yeah, absolutely. Judgment and comparison.
It's like the two evils that, working with the clients that I work with now, the commonality of my clients is no self-worth. And it's so funny how many parents will call me and be like, and I have such a great relationship with him. Yes. My son and I are so close, my daughter, whatever, and I don't understand what's going on. Like they're the cheerleader, the football player, they make good grades. Like I don't get when they get home like that. It's just a blank slate now. And I'm like, well, I could tell you.
Sure.
I could tell you right now, they're lacking self-worth. Well, I don't get it. Like they tell me that they're happy. And I said, they're going to tell you what you need to hear because they don't want, I say it's conditional love to them and they don't want to test it. They don't want to know they're not enough for you. They don't want to disappoint you. You're the one thing that has helped them. It's like, you're the pull for them. Like I'm going to make my parents proud of me.
Right.
And the minute that they don't,
also, yep.
Falls out. The bottom falls out.
It does. And it's because it's optics. Let's look at what the world that their parents are living in. They may be their highest level form of, social media might be Facebook.
Yeah.
They may go on TikTok on occasion, but not for the same reasons that their kids are on it, or Instagram, or LinkedIn, or Twitter, or Snapchat. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And so when you start to look at the microcosm, it used to be where, when we were growing up, where do you rank in your school system?
Correct.
Or even in your part of the state. I was in Southern California. I didn't give a flip what they were doing up in the Bay Area. That had nothing to do with me. That might have been been a whole different country. But it's like, oh, in SoCal, this is what I'm ranked. This is what, where I'm at. This is my grades. This is my GPA. This is going to get me into the college. Oh, I'm Euro-Asian. I'll meet the minority status. You're like going, so they're like going, no, you're Asian. We have so many Asians. What are you doing? It's like going, oh, damn, I'm Irish. I tell you. I'm telling you, lad, I'm Irish. It's Hogan. Oh, Hogan. And so so it was crazy. But this was all part of the identity process.
Yes.
So why do I go there? And I go, Yeah, because now they're like going, so parents are like going, oh, but honey, you're the best in your school. You made all district. And I'm going, yeah, but these like this cat's all state. This guy's all regional. This guy is like, in the United States. This guy is like ranked internationally. Oh my God. When I compare myself to these other people, but don't do that. And I go, but every school does that. Ranking.
Mhm.
What is your ranking in your class? How do you how do you fare against other people? You want to get into Harvard, or are you in the top 3% of your class? Well, I know people that moved to different school districts so that they can be.
Right.
Like legit. I'm like going, wait, you moved there? They go, oh yeah. Our kid's like, number 1 or 2 in the school now and in the school district. And it's like, and now they qualify because in the region, I go, oh, so standards don't matter anymore.
So I have a question for you.
Sure.
Why do you think that parents will do whatever it takes for their kids to have status? And I'll tell you my answer afterwards.
I appreciate that question. I have seen back when my children were younger, I saw a lot of helicopter parenting. And again, this is one of the reasons why I got criticized so much. Because my kids were involved in martial arts, really good at athletics. And so they're not afraid to make contact. I'll just put it that way. I mean, like sparring gear, headgear, roundhouse kick to the head, weeble wobble, but you don't fall down. You're like, well, no, you do fall down. And so people go, oh my gosh, like your kid is like an enforcer out there. They're so focused. They go, where does that come from? And I said, oh, from sports, from playing. And they're like, wait, what? They go, yeah, but they seem single-minded in their optics. I said, well, we don't helicopter our kids. They have a moral compass in a frame. They know not to hurt people. They also know how to exercise restraint and self-control. So they get to be their true authentic self and express themselves without any, apology, without any apprehension. And then afterwards, they can go ahead and express themselves and say, I'm sorry if I was too physical or whatever the case might be. I said, but never apologize for who you are in that moment. You're doing the best that you can. And you don't have to compare against anybody else. In a competition, there's judges for that. They'll tell you when you're going too far. They'll also tell you when you need to, they'll try and, hey, come on, keep that energy up. Keep going, keep going. Now, why do I share this? The latest concept of this is bulldozing parenting, which is there are no boundaries. We saw these scandals with people who were paying for their kids and then making it easier for them to get into the colleges by actually, and let's just call it what it is, cheating. So someone else who's working really hard and doing it on their own merit, and then they're like, oh yeah, they were on the swim team or the row team or the polo team. And it's like, they haven't worn a beanie and been in a pool since they were in diapers. Right. They haven't rowed a boat ever, a scull or been on the row team in their freaking life. So why do I bring this up? It's like, well, in people's scarcity to not have perceived pedigree, they will go ahead and create artificial realities for their children. And this is the reality that they're growing up in. And they wonder then why drugs, or I'll say addictions to maybe clans or groups of people that aren't necessarily in the highest standing. Why? Because they so are trying to live to a standard that isn't even who they are.
Right.
And so when they actually meet someone real, they'll go, hey, that's why gangs. Why? Because they love me. Wait, what? They love you? What do you mean? We love you. Look at you. You're going to Harvard. Yeah, about that, Dad. What? So please go ahead. Yes.
So my definition of this, the outcome of parents doing stuff like that, right? Like embellishing or making your kids, or just like throwing money at it. Like, oh, you want Jordans? I'll get you Jordans or whatever. Because parents use their kids as a measuring tool if they're a good parent or not. Mm-hmm. If Johnny's mom has got him the $500 Nikes, they're a good parent because they did that in the kid's eyes. So are you going to be a good parent? And so we allow that mindset to take over. And I know I was a victim to that once upon a time. I'm no longer. If I choose to get something for my child, like the Nike Air Jordans or whatever, um, first of all, my husband calls me squeaky because I will never pay 500. I will find a good deal on it. Second of all, I want my son to tell me his why. Like,
Yep.
what does it mean to have them? You know, it's not just the shoe because so and so has it. I think they're cool. What's cool about them? You know? And so, because that's not my measurement tool if I'm a good mom.
Right.
And and I have this in my Crack the Code to Parenting video program that I have. It's teaching parents to let go of the titles.
Yes.
It's not about being the conscious parent or the mindful parent or the bulldozing parent or the helicopter parent. It's about being the parent your child needs you to be and show up as that.
Yes.
You know, you have 3 kids. I have 6. 4 of them are my biological kids. And I will tell you, all 4 of them have different personalities, and I have to parent all 4 of them differently.
Absolutely.
You know, there's one that I have to parent at an arm's length because if I get too inquisitive, I don't get connection with him. He pushes me away.
Shuts down. Yep.
You know, my other son, it's more of a nurturing, mama's here, I got you. You know, what are you going to do differently? You know, my other one, it's definitely like, okay, well, I can understand that. Tell me about your feelings. You know, they're so different. And if I had to live under the umbrella of a one way I got to be, and that's the be all to parenting, then I wouldn't be the best mom. And I tell my kids every day, you know what makes me the best mom is that I'm willing to make mistakes and I'm willing to own them.
Yep.
You know, when I've lost my stuff on my kids. I have. I have been in a stressed out state. I have felt rushed. And in that moment, for all my listeners out here, here's my truth of vulnerability. I have lost my stuff on my kids. And within an hour, I'm like, okay, do I leave them a card? Do I leave them a note? Do I like they're at school? And I feel horrible because I had that moment of what was this really about?
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? When they came home and I sat down and I said, you know, what happened this morning? I will take ownership for that. And I am so sorry.
Oh,
They were like, it's okay, mom. I said, no, it's not. It's not okay. It's not okay that I treated you that way. It's not okay. And thank you for saying that. And I
yeah.
said, I just need you to know that even as a mom, I don't know everything. I'm not
Yes.
going to do everything the right way. And yet I owe it to you as human beings, the kids I love and I adore, that I don't want to take anything away from you because of the way I treated you. And you are worth more. You are
Yes.
worth me apologizing to because that's the way I can role model to my kids that it is okay to make a mistake and feel bad about it and go, gosh, if I could just take that back, or if I could just put my foot out of my mouth, or if I could just like die for today, you know, because what I
Sure.
did was embarrassing. And it takes a stronger person just to own it, find the gift in it, and keep moving on.
It does. And in that vulnerability and in that honesty, we actually give our kids probably one of the strongest lessons that they could have, which is accountability.
Yeah.
The other part too, and we have this saying, and you've heard me say this a billion times, and I know we've both used this in a number of environments, but we say, you're a human being, not a human doing. And please forgive daddy because I forgot that I get to be your dad.
Right.
And this morning I wasn't a good dad. And I apologize. I made some really silly mistakes and I wasn't feeling good about me. And so I ended up saying some things that I really didn't mean, and they didn't come out the way that you deserve to hear it. So I'm not asking for a redo. I'm just asking you to love dad. And I make this vow to you. I will always be as present as I possibly can be in that moment. And sometimes it may not be as present as I would like to be, and it may not be as present as you need for me to be. but just know that I always love you, and that anything I do or say isn't meant to hurt you or make you feel bad. So, Pinky promise? Can we,
Right.
can we agree? And it's been so cool. I've had this conversation with Cole, and even when we've had disagreements, now he's a 22-year-old man. I can't call him a little boy anymore. And I'll go, dude, really? Come on, man. Like this? Like, really?
Right.
Yeah. What is it to you? And I go, well, it's confusing because I don't believe that this is who you are, and this is not how you show up, not the Cole Hogan I know. So he goes, yeah, man, I've just been really stressed at, finals. I said, oh, okay, I get it. So slow down. He goes, but I can't. I said, Cole, slow down. If this is the worst thing that ever happens to you in your life, he goes, yeah, when you put it that way. He goes, what could be worse? I said, I don't know. Cancer?
Right.
He goes, what? I go, well, I know now, and I dealt with that. I go, okay. And he's like, yeah, we don't talk much about that. And I said, there's no reason to. That past stuff is in the past. We're way beyond that kind of stuff. I go, I'm not a cancer survivor. I said, I'm a cancer conqueror. So when you conquer stuff, you move on.
Right.
There's a difference. If people go, whoa, let's go more about that. I said, there's no reason to. I don't go, oh, I'm chronically ill because I catch a cold every now and then, or I have allergies or a flu. I go, no, you're like going, hey, I had a moment, was feeling nasty. I'm great now.
Correct.
And so part of this is bringing this full circle is optics. And if your wish is to have the legacy of your children, I go, what is legacy? And it's real simple for me. It boils down to your life is in direct proportion to how you feel. So I pray that my children and my beautiful wife feel loved, appreciated, and yes, this is my model of the world. So I'm projecting a little bit, but this is in conversations with them because I ask them all the time, how do you need to feel most often? I don't ask them how they want to feel. How do you need to feel most often? Appreciated. And this is where we go, okay, great. What else? And what I find when we ask this question of how they need to feel, very rarely do you have someone that says anything negative. Oh, I don't want to feel marginalized. They go, no, I want to feel appreciated. I want to feel accepted. I want to feel valuable. I want to feel contributory. I want to feel necessary. I want to feel loved. I want to feel happy. And I always laugh when I hear happy.
Right.
Because I have a fundamental belief, and that is at our core, we're all 3 years old. See, by the time you get into school and you're 5, even kindergarten, you start to learn all these presuppositions about how to please people. When you're 3, you don't give up. You're like a honey badger. You don't give a flip. And so there's only 3 responses normally that we hear from kids: happy, sad, or okay.
Right.
And I'm like, well, they're okay. So that means they're kind of like, they're comfortable right now.
And
When I
we're
hear-
supposed, I'm sorry, but and we're supposed to make our parents happy, or we're supposed to make the teacher happy. It's like, and that's where we get into that pleaser, right? It's like, if I make you happy, then I get. If I make you happy, then I get love, I get seen, I get appreciated, I get rewarded. And so it becomes this, automatic thing in us since
It
we're
does
kids.
when we're 5 and 6 years old, and it's socialized. Ooh, Johnny did this. Johnny gets another star. And it's like, oh, wait a second. Samuel got all the words right in his spelling bee. Oh, look at that A and that B. Oh, C, we got to work on the C, Samuel. But D is awesome too. Look at all the stars you're getting. And then this is the comparison. I don't have any stars.
Right.
How do I make someone happy? Oh, I'm going to get better at my alphabets. I'm going to get better at my numbers. And it's like, comparison and structuring and building. But when you're 3, you're happy when other people are showing happiness.
Right. Right. It's interesting about that word happy. I ask my clients all the time, how do you want to feel every day?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know none of my clients say happy?
No.
My teenage clients never say happy.
Right.
They're
What do they say?
They would say, you know what, the number one thing I get now is I want to feel peace and calm.
Yep.
They want peace. There's
Right.
so much coming at them all the time. It's like, your adrenaline on like steroids. It's like, you got to do this and you got to do that. Like, kids don't get to be kids anymore. Right. Like,
No.
It's busy. Like,
Yep.
I mean, I remember after school, like we dropped our heavy backpacks off at home, right?
Oh,
Heavy
yeah.
backpacks we dropped off at home. And then we grabbed a snack in our hand and we were out the door climbing trees, making forts, playing hide and seek with the neighborhood kids,
Yep.
playing like games outside. Like we could not wait to get outside.
Right.
You know, TV was when you were grounded or something. Like nobody wanted to watch. We want to get outside, you know?
Exactly.
So let's come full circle because we have a few minutes left. And I would really love to give our listeners some concrete things that if you feel your child is entitled, like, and some of the signs that I see, and I'm just going to talk from a coaching perspective and also what I've seen in my kids. Parents might call them lazy. They don't want to do anything. They're not motivated. They just want everything handed to them. They just want me to buy them things, but they're not willing to do their chores. These are behaviors and words associated with the behaviors described by parents.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything to add to that, Chuck? Like how parents would say that their kids are entitled?
Yeah, absolutely. When everything is a wish list, when everything is an expectation, it's like, oh, I need this. Well, they've learned. Kids aren't stupid. They pick up on the language patterns real quick. They go, hey, I need this for school. You go, oh my God, well, you need it for school. Then we're not going to say no. I'm like, wait, what do you mean you need a Versace backpack for school? Really? Like the $1,500 Toomey backpack is required? Oh man. Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. My bad. That wasn't in the parent teacher conference guide. And the other part is that when we start to feel guilty, and this is the part where I look at this very quickly now. I go, is it you or them? Is
hey,
it really?
listeners, you need to hear that, please. The minute you feel guilty, this is so good. And we could probably go off on a whole nother tangent on this. If you feel guilty about a decision you made about your kid, is it you or is it them?
Yeah, because they don't need to be fixed. They're not broken. Neither are you. And more things and stuff aren't going to resolve it. Slow down. So if you start feeling triggered, the number one thing, you don't put your foot on the gas pedal and go, okay, let's go along for the ride. Oh my God, there's turns. No, slow the frick down. In fact, just take your foot off the gas pedal.
Yes, cruise for a while.
Breathe and look around because it's not as hairy as you're making it out to be. And they are not in some dire circumstance where you need to give them a kidney stat in order for them to be healthy.
Right.
They're asking for $100 so they can get a new prom dress.
Right. So if parents are now recognizing, right, we've given them some tips and tools today, just through stories to like really look at like, where are you at with your kid? If they were going to shift that, what are some things that you think that parents can do right away to start shifting that?
Absolutely. The one thing that you're not going to get more of is time. And so what I would highly recommend, because everyone's going, hey, you didn't have time to clean your room. Hey, you didn't have time to do that. Start time blocking. And it's so easy to do. Start color coding your time. Anything that's for self-care, hygiene, sleep, eating, make it whatever, purple time. 30 minutes of each of these a day for you and for your kids, because here's the deal. If you aren't happy, they're not going to be happy. You cannot fill up everyone else. I have a saying, Vinu knows this one well. My family and I deserve the best of me and not what's left of me. If you're moving heaven and earth for everybody else and you're not taking time for self, if you're not building the muscle, if you're not getting healthy, if you're not feeling strong and energetic, you are now a liability to everyone else. So this means time block for yourself and help them get organized, because the one thing that you are only blessed with every single day is 24 hours.
I agree.
You don't get more of it.
I agree.
At midnight, the clock strikes, it's a new day.
And it's so important you role model it. And I also always say is that if I don't give the best to me, then you're always going to just get the rest of me.
That's it.
You know, very similar, and I learned that from you and I kind of just tweaked it.
Love that.
I was just talking to my client about this morning, is that my kids know, like I'll say on Saturday, I'm like, are you going to change out of your pajamas? They're like, it's a recharge day, Mom. I celebrate that because I do it. It's a recharge day.
Sure.
You know, are we doing? Nope. It's a recharge day. You know, Mom's off duty today. It's a recharge day. I'm staying in my PJs. And it's so great that I see them doing it, because what they see is what they do.
Without question. And there is one profound shift that I found made all the difference in my life. I get to.
Yes. Have
Don't
to.
have to. And people go, come on, dude. Listen, when you get to do something, and I'm going to go into business for a second because this is personal and professional. When you feel productive, productivity equals happiness in every facet of life.
Absolutely.
What feeds productivity is possibilities. And when you get to, because now you have options, opportunity, and optics, you get to live an enriching life because now there's never a have to. There's always a get to. And it's your choice and your commitment and your dedication that allow that to happen. And setting the example for your children will allow them to see this as well.
Right. Right. Thank you, Chuck. What I would like to add to that, to those listeners, is like, how do you shift it? Ask your children what's the value in what they're asking for. You know, what's the value in it? What does it mean to them? You know, like, what would it mean to them if they didn't have it? And what does it mean to them if they do have it? When you start to see that it's, well, because so-and-so had it and I don't want to feel left out. It's not about what they're wanting then.
Exactly.
That's the symptom. You got to get to the core of it. And what will help you get to the core of why your children feel entitled is by asking these type of questions. What's the value? What's the value in what they're asking? And another thing I ask my kids is, do you feel you deserve it? And if so, tell me what you've done to deserve that. I want to bring back the fact that life isn't just given to you because you want it on a wish and a hope. Life is exactly what you want it when you get in the trenches and you work and you make your design of what you want it to look like and you take action for it. Nothing changes without action. Nothing changes with a dream. Nothing changes with a hope. Like you said, hopium, living on that island of hope. Nothing changes because you're just aware. Everything changes when you decide to take action.
You asked a great question, and I'm going to give it to you as straight as I can. If you're doing your freaking kids' homework, you don't need to learn about geopolitical science. You don't need to learn about algebra. You've already been there. Let them get the lessons. It may take longer, but you doing their homework isn't educating them except in one way. Because when they get out in the workforce, they're going to be expecting everyone to earn their paycheck for them too.
I love it.
You want to be an entrepreneur? Build opportunity and create value. Don't do it for everybody.
So good. Chuck, again, thank you so much. This has been such a blessing. I know that we can do other topics. I'm going to bring Chuck back on, guys. He's an amazing resource. What he says, the stories he has. I'm telling you, I've learned a lot from this man for many, many years.
Likewise.
Thank you so much, my brother. I appreciate you. You guys have been listening to Zingo TV, and we appreciate you. This show can be also heard on Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out www.spanglishworld.ca for all your news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it.